Hello to all you loyal little hamsters out there, spinning the wheel that powers the massive 10-cylinder engine that is the Hogsty Podcast Network. We've got a great show. We're going to kick things off with our interview with Redskins beat reporter Rich Tandler right now, so don't go away. Hogsty.
Welcome to the Hogsty with your crew, Adam Terresti, Alex Zeese, Sean Conti, and Steve Thomas. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome to the Hogsty, everyone. Our guest today is longtime friend of the show, Rich Tandler, sports writer and blogger for CSN Mid-Atlantic and Rich Tandler's Real Redskins, one of the longest-running Redskins out. So we're super happy to have him on the show, and we know he's going to help us navigate the murky waters of Washington's off-season. Welcome to the show, Rich, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, don't oversell me. Those women are pretty darn I don't know if it's really possible to navigate, but let's give it a go.
There's been a lot of controversy with the Bruce Allen, Scott McLuhan relationship that's come out. You know, Jerry Brewer had an article, Mike Jones had an article. What are your general thoughts about what is really going on between Bruce Allen and Scott McLuhan?
I think, if you look at those articles and also just some things that I've heard, I think that fans they're making more out of it than is really there. For one thing, and I wrote this the other day on RealRedskins.com, what Jerry said is his power structure is what has been in place since Scott McLuhan got here. He has never been a traditional general manager, hiring coaches, negotiating contracts, and things like that. That's just it's not his forte. It's not what he does. He is more, and always has been, a super scout is what I've called him. So,
yeah.
He has the title GM. So, that's the way it's been. And they've gone from 4-12 to 9-7 to 8-7-1. I mean, I guess I don't want to say the power structure is working great, but it certainly hasn't collapsed.
Sure.
Now, one thing we've been hearing from some of the other beat reporters, especially Mike Jones, I think he's the first to have said this, is that he gets a sense that there's some jealousy going on between specifically Bruce Allen and Scott. Do you get any sense of that, or do you think that's all just overblown hype?
Well, Jones said it. He's certainly a good reporter. He has his sources that told him that. But I don't think that there's anything is that unusual around the league, around the business world. I mean, I don't think so. As long as things are functioning, if Bruce wants to toot his horn about his 2014 draft, which wasn't bad really, Trent Murphy, Long, Morgan Moses, Bashaud Breeland. I mean, that's not a bad.
Yeah, 3 years out, it looks good.
Not a bad group at all. So, if he toots his horn about that every once in a while, what's the big deal? So, again, I think that's something, that if people, I think, what people overlook, and I mean fans overlook a lot is, an NFL front office, an NFL team, it's a workplace. And, you look around your workplace, is there some jealousy? Yes. Are there some power plays? Yes. Are there, things that maybe if I was a customer or establishment I wouldn't necessarily like to have going on? Yes. But it's, it goes on. You get through it, and what really matters is the decisions that end up getting made, which, haven't been too bad, I would say.
All right, that's good to hear. Rich, just a quick question, a summary of this whole situation. Knowing that you said Scott and has always been a talent evaluator. That's just what he is, an elite scout. In terms of him not speaking to the media, these past few weeks, just on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned should fans really be after given what you said?
Now, okay, that's the one area that is, if you want to get disturbed about something, get disturbed about that, especially since it came out yesterday. Now it could change. They could add Jay Gruden to the schedule at the Combine in Indianapolis this coming week. But as of right now, nobody from the Redskins is scheduled to talk to the media, and that is, that goes back a long way. Joe Gibbs used to speak there. Gibbs 2. I'm not sure about Gibbs 1, his first time around, but Shanahan always spoke there. They've always had a representative up at the podium to answer questions. So that's a little bit more disturbing, I think. And if fans want to say it's just a media thing, that's fine. But if you want, it's the more you have to wonder why. I guess why that's going on, and that's just a lot of guesswork. Really, you don't really know about it.
Well, I think that leads into my next thought because, it's certainly if you read, some of the fans' thoughts, some of them want to run Bruce Allen out of town. Some of them want to run, Scott McLuhan out of town. Some of them think Jay should be fired. The things are going crazy, at least from the fans' perspective. Is anybody here on a hot seat? I can't imagine Bruce Allen is, given he's done a good job on the business side. But certainly, given this media issue with Scott, and some of the chatter out there, is either Bruce or Scott on the hot seat?
No, Bruce is not. McLuhan, you look at the past year, Stephen Pyatt, Kendall Reyes, the draft, at least in the early going, really hasn't shown a whole lot. Of course, you got to get Josh Doctson on the field before you can really judge that draft in any meaningful way. So I don't think either one of them are. Although, another year like the one we just had, McLuhan could be. He's got his contract expiration coincides with Gruden's at the end of the 2018 season.
Mm-hmm.
If Bruce on the hot seat, I think if they get into, let's just say it depends on the scenario. Let's just say Kirk Cousins stays either on a franchise tag or a long-term deal, and they go back to double-digit losses. I think that could be trouble for them.
Sure. I mean, that in the best scenario, that's trouble for any team.
Right, exactly. So, taking that step back like that. Now, is he in trouble? Let's say they trade Cousins. I mean, who knows where all that stands right now. He doesn't have Cousins for one reason or another. He's got Colt McCoy at quarterback, and then they go 6-10. Well, you might have a little bit more rope if that's the case, because he obviously is the guy who wants to keep Kirk Cousins. One guy who for sure wants to keep Kirk Cousins. The rest of it's a little bit murky as far as that goes. So if he can't, if he doesn't have him, and he gets Colt or whoever at quarterback, it'd be tough to blame him if the team takes a step back.
Mm. I think the final question we really have on the front office stuff for you really has to do with, all this speculation started a few weeks ago with Chris Cooley's comments, and the team has just been shockingly silent about all of it. Like, it seems almost un-Redskins-like to have a big media story and them not to be, firing every cannon they have out of every window that they can. Just to kind of respond. Do you have any idea why they didn't respond to all that speculation and stuff?
I don't know. I don't know what good it would have come of it. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not.
Of course not.
I don't know if Cooley knows if it's true or not. So, if it is true, does it do them any good to confirm it? If it's not true, does it do them any good to deny it? Because nobody will necessarily believe them anyway. So I just think, maybe a no comment in that situation was the best way to go. Although, if I was running, if I was in charge of things, well, a lot of things would be different. But
sure.
For one thing, I would, I think I would have been a little bit more transparent about it.
Right.
But I can understand why they chose the route they did.
Mm-hmm. I come at it from a media perspective too, because that's my at least educational background is video and media. So to me, just staying quiet seems so alien. So
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the guy in charge, it's what I've really wondered here is what role is Dan Snyder playing anymore? Because I think it's the sort of the impression we get as we talked about is that Bruce Allen is kind of made a power play of sorts, perhaps with the Scott McGowan and the media, and all this stuff. Is Dan talking to Bruce, telling him what to do? Is Bruce just completely hands off? What is really the nature of Dan Snyder's interactions nowadays?
I think he's more worried about the stadium, more worried about the business aspect of things. I don't think he's making draft picks. I don't think, now certainly when you get to something like the Cousins contract, he is involved in that since he's writing the check.
mm-hmm.
But, I don't think he's that involved in operations. I think he will perpetually wear the black hat as far as a lot of the fans are concerned. So anything that goes wrong, and he's the guy at the top, so I guess anything that goes wrong should be, put on his shoulders.
Sure.
But, I don't think he's necessarily involved in everyday office intrigue that might be going on.
I hope not. Well, you mentioned Cousins. I mean, we couldn't let you get out of here without asking you about the status of the Cousins talks. Are they talking? Are they not talking? What is going on with Kirk Cousins in his contract?
Well, if they're talking, I don't think they're going anywhere. I think Kirk, it's been pretty well established by now that Kirk wants the tag. He wants to get that, that $24 million. I think he'll sign it quickly. Now, if he signs it, that doesn't mean he can't be traded.
Sure.
It would just, preclude him from going out there and, like a normal free agent. But if the Redskins did want to trade him for the 49ers, they could, talk to the 49ers, and then give them permission to talk about a contract. So it's the tag is coming. If there is a long-term contract, which seems to be it's possible until it's done, until the deadlines are passed. But it would be closer to July 15th. I don't see anything happen these next few days that's going to prevent that tag from coming.
Okay. You mentioned San Fran, and so I'm just as curious. You mentioned the tag and trade also this previous week with Cousins as being in the cards. If this situation was to happen, in your opinion, who are the real players in this situation? Who would be likely? Do you think that would be available in this tag and trade? And specifically, San Fran. What about their first rounder for 2018? Is that enough to get the deal done for Cousins?
For this year, I don't see them giving up the number 2 pick. That's just that's just too much. That's too valuable. Although,
I agree.
Kyle wants his. He's going to want his guy. It's not his decision. It's John Lynch's decision.
Sure.
But that's the way they're going to want to go. But I've heard the Jets possibly wanting to get in on it. I've heard Cleveland possibly wanting to get in on it. So we will see if there's anything to get in on. I mean, if Cousins just wants to play on the tag, he can do that. That's within his authority. Just saying, no, I'm not talking to the Browns about a contract, and no, I'm not talking to the Jets about a contract. And without a contract, there's no deal. Nobody's to trade for anything of substance for 1 year of Kirk Cousins at $24 million without having a deal on the other end. So we'll see. The tags are going to come. I think March 1st is Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
It will come sometime middle of the day, early afternoon. And then, of course, the combine starts the next day. And that's when you really might start hearing, I think that's when, if they are interested in a deal, that's when they start talking face-to-face to the, Redskins and 49ers would start talking about it. So,
Understood.
Again, that's just speculation at this point. But, if anything is going to happen, that's when things would really start to get printed.
All right.
Sure. Well, can I just ask you real quick then? I mean, if that happens, if Kirk goes somewhere, can you just tell us what you think fans can expect from a Colt McCoy-led Redskins team? I mean, I know you mentioned earlier in another question that team would probably regress, but can you speak a little bit more to that? What do you think that would look like?
I think it I don't know. I honestly haven't thought that through that much. The main thing, I think Colt is good to win a game or two here and there, like he did in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
But his durability is a big question mark. And can he? Let's say he starts week 1 this year. What's the over under on him making it week 4, week 5, week 6, somewhere around in there before you have to go to your backup plan. So, if you want one quick synopsis of what a Kirk Cousins team would look like, it would be what a McCoy team would look like. It would be McCoy for less than 16 games.
Wow.
Oh, there you go. Paints a pretty clear picture, if you ask me, Rich.
Definitely. All right. Well, I kind of want to ask a 2-part question here. And when it comes to Pierre and Deshaun, what are the chances, in your opinion, that both of them won't return? Because I understood from ESPN reporter John Keim that they're set or content with letting both of them test the market. What are your opinion? What is your opinion on the situation?
Yeah, I think Deshaun is going to be gone because I think he will. I think he wants to go to the high. This is his last contract. He wants to go for the most money he can get.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. He's 30. He'll be 31 December 1st, I believe. So he wants to go for it. And I don't think the Redskins will match. He'll probably be up in the $10.5 million area. As far as Deshaun, I think they might go let him look around. He has business ties in this area. He has a little bit more incentive to stay here. Don't think he'd give a big hometown discount, but he might give something of a hometown discount. So I think there's a better chance of him staying. But I think the chances of them both being gone are pretty good.
Okay. And
wow,
last thing, last thing, if this decision was made that that neither stuck around, does that reflect on the front office's opinion on Kirk Cousins? And what I mean by that is, are they willing to? Would it be a sign that they may be willing to commit long term to Cousins and entrust him to fully lead the offense? Because to lose both Pierre and Deshaun, it kind of means something that they are content with letting both of them walk if that was the case.
I think they're separate decisions. I think with Cousins, it's really just a matter of do you want to make him if close to, if not the highest paid quarterback in the game? Is he is that a contract you want to have for the next 4 or 5 years?
Sure.
I got the separate and bigger decision from Pierre and on Jackson.
All right.
Gotcha. Good to know. Well, I guess moving on from there, unless there's anything else you think we should, desperately know, any breaking news you can let us in on, we'll let you go. We want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for being with us, obviously, again, Rich.
Sure thing, guys.
Thanks very much.
Rich.
And we're back on another beautiful episode of the Hogsty. Sean Conti here with you again today, joined by the one and only Mr. Steve Thomas. Hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm here as always, doing well. Hope everybody out there is doing well too. We're having a boring dramaless Redskins week, right? Absolutely nothing going on whatsoever with this team because it's the middle of the off season. It's February and it should be drama free, and that's exactly what we have, I'm sure, right?
Steve is a great liar.
Yeah.
I'm not a good liar, is the thing.
Yeah. And that's the voice, by the way, of my good friend and intrepid co-host over at All 32, Mr. Jamaul Forrest, joining us on the Hogsty today. Jamaul, how are you, man?
Sure, I'm doing all right, man. I can't complain. How y'all?
Like Steve said, I think we're just trying to survive the rocky waters of the drama-filled off-season we're dealing with right now. How are you handling everything, Mr. Alex Zeese?
I'm okay. I mean, the fun part about this drama is it's that kind of drama where we don't know if there's really drama or if there's not, or if it's all just hearsay and conjecture.
Right.
Which, as Steve will tell you as a lawyer, those are really great kinds of evidence to base things off of.
Yeah, and of course, we
Hell yeah.
just had an insider do an interview about that.
Right.
So what do and you all just heard the Rich Handler interview. So my impression of Rich was he kind of downplayed the drama a little bit. I mean, him saying, it's just kind of in office, and in every office there's some politics and this and that. He didn't come right out and say, oh, it's chaos at Redskins Park, and, they're jousting with horses and, in the middle of the office. And he didn't say anything like that.
Well, for one, I
mean, he did the more
jousting at Redskins Park.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that he did the more responsible thing, which was that he didn't, he said he didn't know because he didn't know, which I appreciate that he did that. Obviously, not everyone in the media is operating under that MO. So I appreciate it. He said, maybe he didn't say there wasn't. He just said he didn't know, which, it's kind of the same information vacuum that we've been dealing with for the last week. But at least, he put it out there. He just doesn't know. He didn't just, say no or didn't say yes.
The one thing that I will add though is, he was downplaying it as he should, and I feel like Rich actually, but just to keep it, keep everybody's heads fully aware. It's kind of like there actually something there, but it's just the fact that these things are common. So
Right.
Obviously he was kind of, I felt like he was kind of acknowledging it, but just downplaying the seriousness of it. It's just unfortunate that so many people were just hyping it up, because social media is just going to do that. And it just blew up to what it is. So I agree with Rich, but I do want to know, I do feel like there is some things there. Just very small.
Yeah, I mean, he did, say that the fact that Scott hasn't spoken to the media could mean something. We just didn't know what it is. He said, that there probably is some jealousy going around, on back there. So, I think we've heard from other beat writers on and off the record also that a lot of times at Redskins Park when there's smoke, there's fire.
Sure.
And I think that there's some smoke in this case. We just don't really know the source of the fire, so to speak. And I think that's sort of what Rich was getting to in a non-panicked, everybody relax sort of way.
And we also don't even know how big of a fire it is. This really could just be a little, hey, Bruce isn't happy because they missed the playoffs kind of thing, versus, hey, this whole thing is about to get blown up kind of situation.
That was good to hear that he said that Dan Snyder's meddling anymore, though.
Yeah.
That was good to hear.
Yeah. I mean, as long as that is the case, I'm going to be a little happy. But let's talk about the more sensational things he said, because that's more fun. The idea that it's not just San Francisco who might be interested in Kirk, that is something that I don't think anyone's really mentioned much of. And he put two teams out there that I really picked up on quickly, the Jets and the Browns.
And he was tweeting about Cleveland over this a couple days ago, too.
Can you guys imagine what's going to happen around here if Kirk Cousins replaces Robert Griffin and leaves the Redskins to replace Robert Griffin as quarterback for the Cleveland Browns?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's going
I will be very happy.
And then
it'll be hilarious.
We have lots to talk
play
about.
Back up to Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that would be.
Oh my God.
That'd be very interesting. I kind of have a hard time seeing that really being a possibility, but
I don't know.
God, talk about
Yeah, well, I mean, if Kirk is all about the money, he might just go where the biggest. His agent might make it known that he wants to go to the team that makes the biggest offer.
Wants the most. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, he won't have a choice if he's if it's a tag and trade, but if he's all about the money, he'll go to Cleveland. If Cleveland offers the most money.
And here's another thing that this plays into, though. If it is a tag and trade scenario, it's not just one person we're talking to anymore. This whole notion that we would only maybe do a first-round swap for Kirk Cousins that was floated out there by some guys from the NFL Network. Like, if there are three teams involved, now we're talking bidding war in terms of his services. Yeah. So, that could be huge, too.
Yeah. I mean, Rich is the second writer who's told us that the 49ers probably aren't going to give up their overall number 2 pick. So I'm beginning to think that, that might not happen despite fans,
Right.
best wishes.
Well, Cleveland has 2 number 1 picks, so.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
both Cleveland and San Fran are in such a position of need right now. It's sort of obviously this would fill a major one, but this is such a way to handicap their team. I mean,
Right.
I think that 11
I would be
might
shocked
help,
to see
so
them do
might
that.
help them.
What was that, Jamal?
What's that, Jamal?
Oh no, I was just saying. I think because I think they have the second overall, first overall, and then they have the 12th overall pick as well.
Right.
The 12th, 11th. If you're trying to get somebody that's in the top 10, if he falls out, you may be like it's just a gamble thing. But I think the 12th or 11th, they may be willing to move for Cousins because he's a proven starter already 2 years in, and they've seen his resume because they're not going to get a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick. That's just not going to happen. But they may go with that vet with number 12 instead of gambling on a rookie, especially a guy who has about like 5 or 6 seasons left in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a good point. Another thing that Tandler had mentioned too before we move on was just that he was seeing Pierre and Deshaun both as probably not coming back next year. What did you guys take from that? Is that as concerning to you that he said that as it was to me?
I don't have enough faith in Josh Doxson. I don't know. I mean, I don't have enough faith in Josh Doxson to just assume that he can come in and play well. Forget the injury. Let's assume he's going to be healed, fine. But the guy's basically a rookie. We haven't seen him play more than about 2 seconds of football. We don't know if he's going to be good. And the idea that we just let certainly Pierre Garçon walk and just hope that this rookie's going to come in and take a major role, him and Jameson Crowder. I mean, we'd really have to sign a free agent, I think, if Garçon in particular leaves.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong about that, but I think if you're playing the kind of Moneyball situation, $8-10 million wide receivers, they're not worth the bang per buck that a lot of people think they are. Or, in terms of these Moneyball guys who want to play Moneyball in the NFL, so many teams are able to do it for cheaper and have a successful passing game. So I think that's the direction they're looking to go.
But it's not really a money issue with us, though.
Oh, I know.
It's not really a money issue to us.
I'm just saying that's probably kind of the argument they're taking, or the point of view they're taking.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I was gonna say I do think it's a concern if both of them leave. Because I've been on the bring Pierre Garçon back train for probably since like December, November maybe.
Wrote a column about it.
Yeah, I wrote a couple of them. But it's kind of weird to see both of them leave. So I would, if I knew somebody in that front office, I would want to know their methods, their way of thinking when it comes to letting both of them go. So it will be off for me. I think they need to bring at least one back, regardless if it's Pierre or not. They do need to bring one back.
Well, can you just imagine, Jamal? I know we want to move on, but can you just imagine, Jamal, if both of them leave, and remember what Tandler's other prophetic thing he said, which was that if Kirk leaves, you can expect to see Colt McCoy, the team will regress in quarterback play, and it won't be Colt for the full 16 games. So can you just imagine what that offense looks like? Colt McCoy as the quarterback for only parts.
Yeah, 4-12. I'd be pretty frustrated looking at the season.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with Garçon, isn't paying him, let's say $8 million for a year or two. The problem is the back end of a contract like that, because he's already, he's, what is he, 30, about to be 31 years old. You're talking about a 34-year-old wide receiver making that much money, basically making starter money when he's going to be too old for it. That's the problem with it.
Well, and that's true for both guys. I mean, that.
Oh, it is for sure.
I mean, that's not a Pierre Garçon or Deshaun Jackson. That's both. And that's, I think, why so many of us have always been on the PR bandwagon more than anything is at 34, he'll be okay.
Yeah, Deshaun's not going to be that fast at 34. Yeah.
All right, well, let's drop it from there. Yeah, let's move on to our next topic, which I understand we had another cool, amazing user poll. Isn't that right, Steve?
Yeah, we had a good poll this time, and this kind of goes into the Cousins talk because, what else is there to talk about? But the fan base has been up in arms about the possibility of Tony Romo replacing Kirk Cousins. Some people love it, some people hate it. the issue with Romo is he's got a contract with
Who
Dallas,
loves it?
that's really big. Well, it's like a $19 million contract with Dallas, and so if he stays with Dallas, he's going to be the highest paid backup in the league.
Right.
So the thought is, one way or another, Dallas is going to get rid of Tony Romo. Now, I think we can all agree that they're not going to trade him to us, but if he's released, it's possible that Tony Romo could come here. So I was curious about what the fans felt. So the question this week was, how do you feel about Tony Romo replacing Kirk Cousins? And the 4 choices are, because we always do 4 choices. No way, I can't root for him. No on Romo because of his health.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but only if he's willing to sign a small contract, or yes, sign him at whatever it takes, full value contract. So those are the choices. So I'm curious as to what you guys think. Go ahead, Alex.
I think that we really should have had one of the answers just be fuck Tony Romo, and that would have won because fuck Tony Romo. But yeah, I think most fans are probably in the anti-Romo camp. I would lean towards, it's just the anti-Dallas thing,
Yeah. Okay. Jamaul, what do you think?
Well, Steve, add my first win to the poll question column because I'm gonna go with injury. I know there's a lot of people that was talking about him, talking about they can't stand the fact that Romo can be a Redskin, but I know it has more to do with the fact that he's just injury prone. So that's my gut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sean, what do you think?
And I'm sorry, Steve. Can you hit me with the options again really quick?
All right.
Sorry to make
options
you do that.
are no, it's all right. No way, I can't root for him. No, but because of his health. Yes, but only if he signs a small contract. Or yes, sign him up, full value, whatever it takes.
Yeah, totally sign him up full value, man. Just kidding. Just kidding. Let's go with. I kind of. Yeah, I kind of like the injury argument's a good one to me. I mean, I would never sign an aging veteran with injury problems to this team, setting aside the entire Dallas aspect, of the whole thing.
Right.
So I guess that's what I'm going to go with. Yeah, I would have liked one more option. That's just a terrible idea in general, because none of those qualifiers really describe where I'm coming from with that. But it's a fair poll. Yeah, exactly. No, trust me, I know where you're coming from. I guess I'll go with B there.
Okay. Well, that's what I would have had. I would have voted for B as well. But the fans, and it turns out Jamaul, Sean, and we're all sort of right, because Alex, you didn't really specify what. No,
I said it's a lot of them are going to say it's the anti-Dallas thing.
Oh, okay. Well, you were wrong.
Yeah.
The first place answer with 39. The first place answer with 39% was no, but because of his health. Full 33% though voted no way, I can't root for him at all.
Which is the anti-Dallas thing.
Yeah, that's anti-Dallas.
Yeah.
22% said yes, bring him in, but only if it's a small contract. And the bold and brave 6% said yes, sign him up full value. Now, what I'd like to point out here,
I didn't know Skip Bayless was voting on our polls now.
Yeah, Skip voted, over and over and over again with a bunch of his fake Twitter
I'm about
accounts.
to say, he got fake
he uses
accounts.
to praise himself.
Yeah. He got called out for that once or twice, didn't he?
Yep, on Facebook.
Yeah, he did, because he praised himself with his fake Twitter accounts. But if you do some basic math here, a full 72% of the voting public, for some reason or another, says no on Tony Romo, and then only 28% of the people would be a yes.
Right.
So it's a pretty big anti-Romo sentiment. For me,
in a country that is so divided, we all hate Romo.
There you go. We can't agree on anything else, but we can all agree on Tony Romo. For me, it's not an anti-Dallas thing for me. I mean, if he had a Redskin jersey on, I'd root for him. I root for the team, not the players. But I'm just terrified of his health. I mean, the man can't stay on a field. That's where I would come out on it. I wouldn't sign him at all because we'd have Colt McCoy playing anyway.
Well, okay, so you have Romo for 2 games. You have Colt for, let's say, 8 games. That gives you 6 more games for Nate
I hate
Sudfeld.
where you're going with this. I hate where you just went with that. I hate that.
And then
place.
Bruce Allen's going to sign himself up to play the last 6 games.
I was thinking maybe we bring McNabb back for 1.
Yeah, right. You know, and McNabb was kind of one of the things I was thinking about. I was like, let's just stay away from the veteran that's past his prime.
Yeah. Another NFC
let's just
East
stay away from it.
quarterback.
Hey,
Yeah, and 5% of the population, 5% of our listenership saying they'd sign him. Let's do it. Just remember that 5% of the population probably also smokes crack. So there's probably an overlap here in populations. Just remember you have outliers.
Let's hear a few comments from the listeners. We're going to have to start doing a hashtag with this because it's getting to be too hard to follow along and find the comments. And for those of you out there commenting, please respond. Don't retweet because I just can't find the retweets with the comments. But let's go with Bobby Rios, who is Bob Rios 66. If the Redskins get rid of Kirk and go after Romo, I'm done with this franchise.
Bobby,
I hear where you're coming from, Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously in the no way, no how, no cowboy, but I think he encapsulates a pretty big chunk of the fans. That's why I read it.
And I do think I'm standing by my statement. There's a chunk of that 39% who just doesn't want to admit that they hate him because he's a cowboy.
Yeah, that's true. There's some of it.
Oh yeah.
Sure. But our poll is not scientific. It's just a poll. Gonna go Chris Hunter, who is Chris Hunter 3644. He says, if he's healthy, he'll be good. I just want this team to win. If Romo is the quarterback doing it, so be it. Which I think is a pretty reasonable and fair position to take. That's kind of where I fall into it.
But if he's healthy thing's a huge caveat.
Well, yeah, because we know he's not going to be healthy. He's going to break the first time somebody breathes on him wrong. And that's the problem. And we'll go with Dave, our buddy Dave, who's commenting on a lot of these. Dave is at WSK28 Rules. He says, separate yourself from the cowboy aspect as a healthy Romo plus groom a Mahomes would be highly beneficial now and going forward. And what he's talking about there is Mahomes is the quarterback at Texas Tech who's about to enter the draft. And Dave has tweeted at us many times that he loves Mahomes as a draft prospect. That's a whole other question because we've got Nate Sudfeld on the roster.
Classic Dave.
Yeah, there you go.
That's vintage Dave right there.
Yeah. We get it, Dave. You like Texas Tech. No one else does.
There you go. He's a prospect, so that's the poll. But I think the takeaway from the poll is the overwhelming bulk of the people don't want Tony Romo for one reason or another.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair, for whatever reason, Tony Romo to the Redskins doesn't make sense. So I'm not terribly concerned with different reasons people have for feeling that way. I'm just glad that most people are feeling that way.
Right.
I'm not as opposed to Colt McCoy as I guess some people are. I mean, the guy's played pretty well since he's been here. He's got y'all realize he has a 99.4 quarterback rating during his time as a Redskin.
Right.
I mean, he's not been terrible. He got one. Got hurt one time.
I feel like
he's a very good backup,
he's had.
But that's all.
He's had some great performances, and he's also had some of the worst performances of a quarterback on this team. I think in the last few years, he's had some really solid ones, and also some of the worst, like that 0-point game against the Rams, and other various examples you could look back at. It's very inconsistent. I think.
I won't forget that one because I was at that terrible game.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wasting your money, man. No, I was just gonna say I would just shake my head honestly, because it's kind of like when you think about Cousins and Romo. I mean, I say Cousins and Romo and Colt. They're both injury prone. Mm-hmm. You can't really trust them. But like Colt had neck issues, shoulder issues. Then Romo got the back, and he's old as hell, about to be 37, I believe. So it's like it's kind of like you just wish Cousins would just resign.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. And let me just clarify what I mean. I'm not talking about having Colt McCoy be a quarterback for 5 years. He'd be a bridge to somebody else.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying it's just the fact that these type of thoughts just make you say, "Goddamn, Kurt, hurry up," because we can just stop talking about all this stuff. That's basically how it goes.
Yeah. Please resign.
Yeah. Speaking of, is there any? There's no new news really in terms of Kirk Cousins chatter, other than some rumor stuff, right?
Yeah, the rumor mill stuff. I mean, the rumor. It's Jim Trotter who works for, I believe, the NFL Network. Is that right?
Yeah.
he called he called Kirk a mercenary
Right.
this week. And as a matter of fact, he said something like, I'm going to get it a little bit wrong, but something like he's the biggest mercenary I've ever seen. And what he was meaning by that was Colt really wants the money.
Yeah.
I can't blame Colt for that or Kirk for that. I don't think Kirk should or will or should give the Redskins any sort of hometown discount. He wants to get the biggest contract he can. I didn't like the term mercenary, but I get what Jim was saying.
Yeah, I think mercenary has a negative connotation to it, but yeah, that was also the same guy who said that if the Redskins trade him to San Francisco, it's only going to be a swap of first rounders.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even like that.
Well, Jim's a longtime NFL reporter. He's a credible source and stuff. It's just his opinions, and who knows? He's certainly not around the team like the guys like Rich and all those guys are.
Right.
He's just
besides the connotation part though, he is right. It does, like, the mercenary word is kind of iffy, but you can't really blame Cousins. This is the type of situation where you're going for your first contract extension. He's been franchised once. We're assuming he may be franchised again, but this is your first contract. Why would you take anything less than what you feel like you're worth, or what the market is going to be end up stipulating for him? So it's just all about taking advantage of what he can right now, because he knows if he's not going to be here, he's going to be paid just about the same amount that he wants on the open market. So I don't blame him. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has to.
Yeah. Well, let's move on from there to our next topic. So we had this, Jerry Brewer posted this article on the Washington Post about who's really pulling the strings there at Redskins Park.
Right. We talked about it.
Basically, yeah, we talked about it a bit, but basically what he's talking about here is Bruce Allen still basically being in charge here. So what did you guys take from this article? Did you read it, and what did you take from it? And do you think there's much credence to what Brewer's dishing out here?
Now, I did read it, and I think, if you read it and you kind of looked at what the Redskins fan base, how they reacted, there was a lot of panic from the fans. But I feel like the context of what Brewer was trying to say was, this is not a big thing. This is how it's been, and it's worked. So don't worry about it, but just know that that's what it is.
Yeah, people have to understand that no GM in the league, unless they're a guy who's the GM and the team president, has autonomy, okay? And even those guys on big decisions have to go to the owner. And so the idea that what Brewer was getting at is that Bruce Allen is really kind of making a lot of calls and is more involved than we thought. He was never not going to be involved. He was always going to be involved. And Rich said this in an interview he did with us today. He was always going to be involved. The trick is, how much is he involved? If he's just kind of an approval authority on major decisions and he's letting Scott McGloin and staff do his thing, that's one thing. But if he's basically micromanaging the process, that's another thing entirely. The only thing I'd like to point out is, if you go back to when Scott was hired, he was not allowed, or he didn't want to hire all his own scouts. He kept the whole scouting department.
Right.
Which is odd. When a GM comes in, usually they bring their guys in. So that kind of led me to believe at the time, and I think more so now, that maybe Jerry Brewer is right, and Bruce Allen is more involved than maybe he should be, given that he's not really a true personnel evaluation guy. That's my thought.
Yeah, I agree. That can be real dangerous. But in my overall thoughts, I just felt it was a reminder, and if it wasn't a reminder to people who kind of assumed what the structure of the front office was, it was a wake up piece. Like, this was never the case. Like, a lot of people, he mentioned in the article as well, that a lot of people, when Scott came here, they looked at him as the savior. They had the hashtag "And Scott We Trust." It still comes around rarely or occasionally sometimes now, but it was heavy in 2015. It was heavy last year. So it's kind of like you're praising him, and the Redskins organization are letting you do that, but you got to remember that Scott answers to Bruce.
Sure.
So you gotta understand that he may be making some decisions, but Bruce has never took a piece, like he never took his whole left hand or right hand out of that player personnel pot. So he still deals with a lot of things, and this, I guess it had a lot to do with maybe what's going on now as well, like what we talked about with Taylor, where he's not speaking anymore, and all these other type of things. So it was just a reminder piece, in my opinion, or for some people, like I said, who's not fully aware, just a wake up piece. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from personal experience that, the team president is involved in big decisions.
Oh, of course.
A quarterback is not going to get signed up without the team president signing off, without the owner signing off. I mean, the one thing that's very different, like Rich said this, Scott does not have authority over the coaching staff, or so it appears. That's different. That's unusual. And that is a sign that he's not a true general manager in the sort of normal sense of the word.
And that's another thing that Rich spoke on, because Steve, exactly, because Steve's spot on with that. Like he's a super scout. He has the label of a general manager, but we got to remember that if his expertise is scouting, what good does he do for? I mean, like why would he have to speak in front of the media? So the front office may not see it as a big deal. But to us, somebody who has been speaking to us over the past couple years, occasionally has got those occasional moments revoked from higher up. So it's just he's a scout guy, he's a talent guy, and that's what he's focusing on right now.
Yeah, and I don't hate that. I mean, I think it's fair. It seems fair until things like this, I think, start occurring, and then it gets weird. And then people start questioning the relationship, and then people start questioning who's doing what, and people question whether or not it makes sense. So it's just a shame that I think it's under such a magnifying glass now. There's nothing necessarily wrong, I think, with your GM being a super scout and being an expert personnel until weird things start happening where they start getting held back from the media, and then then all the questions start coming out. So.
I mean, we're going around and around in circles about it at this point. I think we've established it's a little bit different relationship. The bottom line to me is all of this nonsense is going to go away if we have a good draft and Kirk Cousins comes back. That's the
Steve,
point.
I love how you just said we're going round and round in circles.
Just circling the drain.
Well, I don't mean really us. I meant the argument.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't mean us. I mean the debate going on is kind of going around and around in a circle because it's all going to go away. If this is a controversy only because we don't have a quarterback and the last draft didn't go so well.
Sure.
That's what I meant by going around in a circle.
I got you. But we are kind of going around in circles, so let's get to our last topic. Junior Galette, he re-signed today, another 1-year deal. I'm happy because he's a Temple Owl, so I'm always happy when one of my guys stays on the squad or gets hired onto the squad. But should we really expect anything from him? What do you guys think?
Who knows?
I mean, it's a bonus.
Who knows?
It's like unwrapping a Christmas gift.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 2 years of Achilles injuries, Achilles tears in a row. If he comes back and he's even, approaching what he used to be, it can only be good. I think with Junior Galette, the proper thing is to not expect much and be happy when he does produce.
Yeah, I look at it as a win-win. Same position as last year. He re-signed on a vet minimum deal. And if he produces to the Galette that we seen in New Orleans, obviously it's a win for us as well. So he can get that money after the season's up. But I don't have any expectations for a guy who's had 2 season-ending injuries prior to playing a game with us. At this point, you still need outside linebacker help. You still need pass rushers to help this front seven out. So even with Galette, I'm not really, and this is no disrespect to him, I'm just not really counting on him to get the job that we need to get done. So
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, he has something to prove. he's really dedicated to the Redskins. He's made that abundantly clear over and over again on his social media accounts and elsewhere that he really appreciates what the Redskins have done for him. And two, he's going to be all about trying to prove himself again. So we're going to see max effort from the guy, at a bare minimum. So that's good. We can always use a pass rush, and we need an elite pass rusher. So to the extent he can do that, I'm all for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything we can say more than that about him. You hope for the best. You got to plan for just another season of the worst with Junior.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, seriously, exactly. I don't know if there's anything else we have left to discuss. Do you guys have anything you want to throw in last of the end the show?
Nope, I'm good, man.
Good?
I just hope that these guys pay attention. Like I really hope they pay attention to this off season and put an aggressive approach in place for this off season, because without it, all these rumors is going to start flaring up even more as the season goes along, when 2017 season. So that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope that by the time we do another show, Cousins is franchise tagged and they are working diligently and getting close to a long-term deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the big thing. Next week's show, we will have some big information because the franchise tag happens this week no matter what.
Right,
or
doesn't.
the other.
The deadline is this coming week.
Well, that's what I mean. One way or the other, we're going to have something. Yeah. Well, but that should wrap us up this week. I do want to thank Rich Tandler, and folks, if you're not following him on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing. He's Rich_Tandler CSN. That's his Twitter handle. Steve, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Alex.
Jamaul, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, not a problem, man.
Sean's having technical issues. That's why I'm doing the closing. Sean, I want to thank you for joining us today.
You're so welcome. If this message you're so welcome.
That's gonna have some space-like delays on it. And I want to thank the listeners for continuing to circle this drain with us. Keep sticking with us. Keep following us on Twitter. Keep giving us those positive reviews on, social media and iTunes and wherever else. And thank you guys. And we'll see you next week on the Hog Stuff.
Take care.